What's up, y'all? My name is JR, and for those of you who don't already know, I'm a huge movie and TV nerd. If you're new here, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my channel. I hope you'll consider sticking around and joining the film community I'm trying to build here on YouTube. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving my reaction and review of Warner Brothers' new dark fantasy comedy horror film, Beetlejuice. And just so you guys know, this video will contain mild spoilers, so if you haven't gotten around to seeing this movie yet and you don't want to know anything that happens in it, you might want to exit this video now. And with that being said, no more wasting time. Let's get into it. Beetlejuice is an American-made dark fantasy comedy horror film directed by Tim Burton from a screenplay by the writing team of Alfred Goh and Miles Millar, based on a story by Goh, Millar, and Seth Graham Smith about 3 generations of the Dietz family who returned home to Winter River after a family tragedy. And still haunted by Beetlejuice, Lydia's life is turned upside down after her daughter Astrid accidentally opens a portal to the afterlife. A sequel to Beetlejuice, which was released in 1988, and the second film of the Beetlejuice franchise, the film stars Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara reprising their roles alongside new cast members Justin Theroux, Monica Bellucci, Jenna Ortega, and Willem Dafoe. Beetlejuice opened the 81st Venice International Film Festival on August 28th of 2024, and was theatrically released overseas on September 4th of the same year, and in the United States by Warner Brothers Pictures just 2 days later. The film has received generally positive reviews from critics to this point. Now, at the time of the making of this video, the movie has a 77% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 235 critic reviews, with a popcorn meter that stands at 83%, based on over 2,500 verified ratings. It has a Metascore of 62 on Metacritic, based on 58 critic reviews, with a user score of 6.6 based on 65 user ratings. And finally, the film has a 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb with almost 9,000 ratings. So look, this movie is just the latest in a long line of sequels that absolutely nobody asked for. That being said, I didn't exactly hate it. Now, as you can see, if you go to IMDb, most of the big names are back for this one. And it picks up where the last film left off as it pertains to tempo and tone. I say all of that to say it's what you would expect from a Beetlejuice movie. And I have to say, the film has a halfway decent story, if I'm being completely honest. Wherein a much older Lydia, now the host of her own supernatural talk show, produced by her boyfriend, picks up her daughter Astrid from a boarding school and heads back to Winter River after the death of her father. And while there, Astrid meets a charismatic young man who, it turns out, is a ghost, who murdered both his parents before his death and is seeking to return to the real world by having Astrid trade her life in for his in the afterlife. With this whole film, Astrid is an interesting character because, the relationship between Astrid and Lydia is kind of fractured because Astrid doesn't believe in ghosts, and so she resents the fact that her mom believes in ghosts so much, to the point that she feels like it affected their relationship, and so they don't get along at the beginning of the movie. And so you kind of understand that as the movie progresses, Lydia is going to have to kind of come to understand exactly what her mom went through with Beetlejuice and why Beetlejuice has affected her so much over the years. So, of course, when Astrid meets this young man who it turns out is a ghost, she actually goes to the afterlife and, hijinks ensue. Lydia also has a father who has passed on. So when she gets to the afterlife, she actually gets a chance to see him as well. And so, like I said, this was kind of something that you knew was going to be a part of the film's plot progression, because, you kind of have to have these two people find their way to each other and kind of have their relationship be restored and repaired in some respect. Now, the film does lean heavily on nostalgia, which I didn't really have a problem with, as it was completely predictable. I think that's why the film got made, and that's why these types of films that 30 years ago, 40 years ago, movies are kind of being redone. Is the studios and the streaming services are relying on the nostalgia to get people. For example, I grew up, with Beetlejuice when I was a kid, so they're expecting people my age to come back to the theaters to see these movies, and then also maybe bring our kids or bring in a whole younger audience to kind of come in and see these movies as well. So I didn't have a problem with them kind of leaning really heavily on, the model map of Winter River and that whole deal. I think it worked just fine. I thought the acting was good all around, with the characters being the same zany bunch they were in the original film, which, was I think was a testament to the talent that they had in this movie, because sometimes it can be difficult to kind of recapture a character that you played so long ago. It can kind of just feel like you don't quite get there. But I felt like everyone kind of rose to the occasion, if you will, to play the characters that they played in the original film. I thought Astrid, was a little less zany, playing it fairly straight until late in the third act of the film where there's a dance sequence. But I mean, even that, if you remember Shake Sonora from the original film, you kind of go, okay, yeah, this is typical of a Beetlejuice movie, and also typical of kind of what Tim Burton likes to do in his films. Now, Beetlejuice, still pining over Lydia after all these years, he finds out that his wife, who was a member of a death cult, has returned and is looking for revenge, as he killed her on their wedding night many years prior. And, Beetlejuice and Lydia don't actually have their character arcs and their story arcs merge until about halfway through the film. I thought that was kind of late, but I have to say, having watched the whole thing, I think it worked out, fairly all right. And once their arcs do merge, the beats follow a fairly predictable path from the midpoint of the film to the film's end. And, speaking of the ending, the movie ends almost exactly how you'd expect it to, given the story beats that came before, which is, par for the course, if you will. Nothing extraordinary by the screenwriters, but they kind of followed what screenwriters are supposed to do here. So I didn't really have an issue with that. I thought Jenna Ortega fit in well with the rest of the cast, but then again, I think we all knew she would, with her work as Wednesday Adam being similar to her role here, as it pertains to kind of character type, if you will. Now, overall, I'd give this movie a 65% or a 6.5 if you're thinking IMDb score. All in all, I think the movie was a little better than okay. And I tell you guys, anything higher than a 6 is a pretty good movie. So that's where I would kind of leave this movie, as pretty good. And, with its runtime being less than 2 hours, it was an easier watch than it would have been if the film had been longer. I'm not going to lie. Like, the zaniness and kind of the slapstick, feel to this movie, you can only take that for so long. Like, so the fact that the film was less than 2 hours was crucial to me kind of being able to walk out of the theater and go, I didn't hate it. If this had been like 2 hours and 10, 15 minutes or so, I would absolutely not. Can't sit through that. Now, if you're a fan of Tim Burton or the original Beetlejuice film, then, like I said, you're in for a nice big helping of nostalgia, which is what I think this film is really selling above all else. But if not, honestly, I think you could skip this one without losing any sleep over it. But what do you guys think? Have you seen Beetlejuice yet? If you have, did you get what you thought you would from it? Let me know in the comments. And for those of you that might be new to the channel, be sure to like and share this video. If you really like the content, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. Also, be sure to go and check out themadScreenwriter.com for more television and film reviews and info on my upcoming film projects. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got screenplays to write. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.